In the heart of Mythical, a restless African city where wealth and hunger walked the same dusty roads, life moved fast for those who had money and painfully slow for those who did not. Skyscrapers rose beside rusted kiosks. Luxury cars splashed muddy water onto barefoot children selling sachet water. In Mythical, kindness had become rare, not because people were born cruel, but because survival had taught them to look away. It was on one such unforgiving afternoon that Kasim Adeyemi lay on the side of the road, groaning softly, his expensive suit deliberately torn, his polished shoes dusted until they looked ordinary. Cars passed. People passed. Some slowed only to stare. Others crossed to the other side of the road. No one stopped. Kasim was not injured. Not truly. He was a billionaire, one of the youngest infrastructure magnates in West Africa. His companies built roads, bridges, ports. He employed thousands. But Kasim had grown tired of lies. Of people who smiled only when they saw his convoy. Of women who loved his name before they loved his soul. So that morning, he made a decision that would change 2 lives forever. He told his driver to drop him off quietly. He removed his watch, hid his wallet, dirted his clothes, and lay down like a broken man. And the city showed him its truth. Then came Amina Sadia. Amina was poor in the way only honest poverty exists. She sold roasted groundnuts from a small tray balanced on her head. Her dress was faded, her sandals worn thin, but her eyes were alive. She had walked that road every day for 3 years, ignored by the world, stepped over like an obstacle. When she saw Kasim lying there, something tightened in her chest. She stopped. People behind her shouted, "Move!" A bus conductor laughed. "Leave him, mad girl. He's pretending." Amina knelt anyway. "Brother," she said softly, "can you hear me?" Kasim groaned louder, careful not to overdo it. "Water," he whispered. Amina hesitated. She had only 1 bottle left. It was for herself. But she opened it and poured some into his mouth, supporting his head with her thin arm. "You are burning," she said. "We must get help." "No hospital," Kasim muttered. "Too expensive." Amina almost laughed. Expensive? Everything was expensive to her. But she didn't say it. She flagged down a passing tricycle. The driver refused when he saw Kasim's condition. Another refused. A third demanded money Amina didn't have. Finally, she paid with her groundnuts. She lost her entire day's earnings for a stranger. She took Kasim to her 1-room home in Adjugannal, a neighborhood where walls listened and roofs leaked. She cleaned him, gave him porridge, and laid him on her thin mattress while she sat on the floor. All night, she stayed awake. Kasim watched her quietly, pretending to drift in and out of consciousness. He noticed how she flinched at every sound, how she prayed softly, how she never once asked who he was or what he could give her. At dawn, he asked, "Why did you help me?" Amina shrugged. "Because you were human." No one had answered him like that before. Days passed. Kasim stayed. He watched her wake before sunrise, go out to sell, return tired, yet still share food with neighbors who had less. He watched her laugh at nothing, cry in silence, and pray without bitterness. On the 4th day, his phone rang. He answered. The voice on the other end panicked. "Sir, the board is asking questions. Your disappearance." Kasim hung up. Amina stared. "You have a phone?" "Yes," he said gently. "Are you rich?" she asked carefully. "I was," he replied. "Before I fell." She nodded, accepting it easily. Too easily. When he finally stood up strong, cleaned, whole, she smiled with relief, not disappointment. "You are healed," she said. "God is kind." He almost told her then. But destiny needed time. Back in the city, news spread that Kasim Adeyemi had vanished. His business partners moved quickly. His cousin Rashid Adeyemi, ambitious and ruthless, began maneuvering to take control. In Adjugannal, Amina knew none of this. She only knew that the stranger she helped made her feel seen in a way the world never had. And Kasim knew something else. He had found the only person who helped him when he had nothing to offer. And that was dangerous. Because love built on truth is rare. And power attracts betrayal. This was only the beginning.
When Kasim Adeyemi finally left Ajagunal, the neighborhood swallowed him quietly, the way it swallowed all things that passed through without leaving money behind. Amina stood at the doorway of her single room, watching his back disappear into the crowded street, unsure why her chest felt heavier than usual. She told herself it was relief. Relief that he was well enough to walk away. Relief that she would no longer worry about another mouth to feed. But relief did not ache like this. Kasim did not look back. Not because he did not want to, but because he feared that if he did, he would abandon everything he had built. Power demands distance. He knew that. He had lived by that rule for years. Still, as he entered the waiting car 3 streets away, dressed once again as the man the world knew, something inside him resisted. The city welcomed him back loudly. Within hours, his disappearance turned into headlines. Security briefings, boardroom apologies, emergency meetings. Kasim listened without speaking, his expression unreadable. His cousin Rashid Adeyemi sat across the table, eyes sharp, measuring him. "You should have informed us," Rashid said carefully. "The company almost collapsed." "Almost," Kasim replied. "But it didn't." Rashid smiled thinly. He had tasted control during Kasim's absence, and he did not enjoy returning it. What Kasim did not say was that the city had shown him something far more dangerous than betrayal. It had shown him truth. In Ajagunal, no one knew his name. No one feared or admired him. And only one person helped. Amina. Back in the slum, life returned to its normal cruelty. The days did not pause for good deeds. Amina woke early, balanced her tray of groundnuts, and walked the same roads where she had found Kasim. People still ignored her. Hunger still negotiated with dignity every night. Neighbors noticed the change in her. "You're quieter," her friend Halima said one evening as they shared gari and water. "I'm thinking," Amina replied. About what, she could not explain. Kasim tried to forget her. He buried himself in work, announced new projects, attended high-profile events. Women laughed too loudly at his jokes. Men praised his vision. None of it reached him. His mind kept returning to the way Amina had knelt beside him without fear, without calculation. So he did what powerful men often do when confused. He investigated. Within days, his private team knew everything about Amina Sadia. Orphaned early. No formal education beyond primary school. No criminal record. No connections.
Clean. Poor.
Invisible. "She's nothing," Rashid scoffed when Kasim mentioned visiting Ajagunal again. "That," Kasim said calmly, "is exactly why she is everything." Against advice, Kasim returned, not as a victim this time, but as himself. His convoy entered Ajagunal like a foreign language. People stared. Children chased the cars. Amina watched from across the road, frozen, groundnut tray slipping from her hands as she recognized him stepping out. He looked different. Taller. Untouchable. "Kasim," she whispered. He smiled. "Amina." The crowd gathered, curiosity burning. Kasim did not care. "I came to thank you," he said. Properly. She shook her head, embarrassed. "You already said thank you." "No," he replied. "I didn't."
He offered her a job.
Not charity. Not marriage.
A job.
"I need someone honest," he said. "Someone who sees people, not titles." The offer frightened her. "I don't belong in your world," Amina said quietly.
Kasim looked around.
"Neither did I once." Against every warning, Amina agreed. Her entry into Kasim's world was not celebrated. Staff whispered. Executives questioned. Rashid watched closely, anger simmering behind his smiles. A poor slum girl at the center of the empire disrupted more than class. It threatened control. Amina struggled at first. Offices were cold. Language was sharp. People spoke over her. But she listened. She learned. Kasim noticed her attention to detail, her instinct for fairness. She questioned numbers that others ignored. Slowly, quietly, she proved herself. That made her dangerous. Rashid began his work. He fed rumors. She's sleeping with him. She's manipulating him. She's after his money. The city listened. The city always listened. Amina felt the shift. The smiles hardened.
Doors closed.
Even Kasim grew distant, trapped between affection and fear of appearing weak. One night, Amina overheard two executives laughing about her background. She should be grateful, one said. Girls like her don't rise without using something. Amina went home that night and cried until dawn. She considered leaving, returning to Ajagunal, returning to invisibility. But then she remembered the man on the roadside. Powerless. Ignored. And she stayed. Rashid made his move soon after. He framed Amina for leaking confidential information. Evidence appeared convincing. The board demanded answers. Kasim was forced to choose between loyalty and empire. For the first time since Ajagunal, Kasim hesitated. That hesitation broke something. Amina resigned before the investigation concluded. She did not defend herself. She did not beg. I helped you because you were human, she told Kasim calmly. I won't degrade myself to stay powerful. She walked away again. This time, Kasim watched her leave. And this time it hurt. Rashid smiled that night, believing he had won. He didn't know that the poorest girl in the room had just planted the seed of his downfall. Because Amina had learned something far more valuable than wealth. She had learned how power worked. And she was done being invisible. Amina Sadia returned to Ajagunal with nothing but the clothes she wore and the weight of experience she never asked for. The neighborhood had not changed. The gutters still overflowed when it rained. The generators still coughed black smoke into the night air. Children still learned early how to survive disappointment. Yet Amina felt different. She had entered a world built on power and lies, and she had walked out without begging. That alone changed her. People whispered when she returned. Some envied her short taste of comfort. Others assumed she had failed. Ajagunal did not ask questions. It filled silence with assumptions. Amina let them talk. She had learned that noise rarely mattered. She started again. This time, she did not sell groundnuts. She noticed patterns now: supply chains, waste, unfair pricing. She pooled money with 3 other women and began buying in bulk. It was small, fragile, but intentional. She kept records. She asked questions. She negotiated harder than people expected. At night, she wrote everything she had observed in Kasim's company into a notebook. Numbers. Behaviors. Weaknesses. She did not yet know why she was doing it. Only that knowledge no longer frightened her. In the city, Kasim Adeyemi unraveled slowly. The silence Amina left behind was louder than her presence ever was. Her resignation had shaken him more than the accusation itself. He replayed the moment again and again, the calm in her voice, the dignity in her exit. He realized too late that his hesitation had spoken louder than any apology. Rashid noticed the change immediately. Kasim questioned decisions more aggressively now. He reviewed files personally. He requested audits that had been postponed for years. The empire was still standing, but its foundations creaked. Rashid worked faster. He moved funds quietly. He signed deals without full transparency. He surrounded himself with loyal men who mistook proximity for protection. Power had always made Rashid impatient. Kasim's absence had tasted too good. He was not willing to give it up completely. Rumors reached Kasim's ears, whispers of irregularities, of projects bleeding money. The same people who once dismissed Amina's questions now repeated them in different language. That irony burned. Kasim tried to find Amina. She did not answer his calls. She did not respond to messages. When he sent someone to Ajagunal, she refused to see them. She was not angry. She was done. Meanwhile, the small cooperative Amina grew quietly. Women trusted her. Not because she promised miracles, but because she explained risks. Profits were modest, but consistent. For the first time, some women slept without fear of the next morning. Amina's confidence grew. Not loud, not arrogant, but rooted. One afternoon, a man from a local NGO attended their meeting. He listened more than he spoke. Afterward, he asked Amina questions that surprised her about logistics, scalability, governance. He saw something others had missed. "You think like a system builder," he said. She smiled. "I learned by watching powerful men fail." In Kasim's world, the storm finally broke. An international audit uncovered financial manipulation. Funds routed through shell companies. Contracts inflated. All roads led to Rashid. The board panicked. Investors threatened lawsuits. Media circled like vultures. Rashid denied everything loudly. Kasim remained quiet. The betrayal cut deep, but it did not shock him. What shocked him was how familiar it felt. He had ignored warnings before. He had chosen comfort over courage. This time, he did not hesitate. Rashid was removed pending investigation. His allies vanished overnight. The empire trembled, but it did not fall. Kasim stood before the board and took responsibility. "I built this company on strength," he said calmly. "But strength without integrity is noise. We will rebuild properly." Some doubted him. Some stayed. Kasim knew exactly who he needed. Amina. He went to Ajagunal himself this time. No convoy. No announcement. Just a man walking the same dusty road where he once pretended to be broken. Amina saw him from a distance and did not stop working. He waited. When she finally approached, he spoke without defenses. "I failed you," he said. "Not because I accused you, but because I doubted you." She studied his face. He looked older. Tired. Human. "I didn't need protection," she replied. "I needed trust." He nodded. "I know." He did not ask her to return as an employee. He asked her to become a partner. Not publicly. Not immediately. Quietly. "I need someone who remembers what this world looks like from the ground," he said. "Someone who will stop me when power makes me blind." Amina did not answer quickly. She thought of the humiliation, the whispers, the fear. She also thought of Rashid, of how easily power corrupted those who never understood struggle. "If I come back," she said slowly, "I come back on my terms." Kasim agreed without argument. Their partnership changed everything. Amina did not sit in meetings to decorate the room. She questioned deals. She demanded transparency. She spoke for workers who never entered boardrooms. Resistance followed, but results followed faster. People began to notice. Media narratives shifted. The slum girl became the quiet force. Women from neighborhoods like Ajagunal saw something new, possibility without compromise. Rashid watched all of this from the shadows, bitterness consuming him. He attempted one final move, leaking false information, stirring public doubt. But the empire no longer moved blindly. His revenge collapsed before it reached the gate. One evening, as the city lights flickered on, Kasim and Amina stood on a balcony overlooking Makola. The same city that had stepped over him now bowed again, but this time, Kasim saw it clearly. "I thought saving you made me powerful," he said softly. "But you saved me." Amina looked at the city below. "You were never broken," she said. "You were just alone." Their hands did not touch. Not yet. Because some love must grow out of respect before it grows out of desire. And the empire was not finished changing. Power does not fall all at once. It peels away slowly, layer by layer, until the person standing at the center finally understands how naked they truly are. Rashid Adeyemi learned this truth in silence. The phones that once rang endlessly stopped ringing. The doors that once opened without knocking remained closed. Even the anger he carried began to rot inside him, useless without an audience. The empire he thought he controlled no longer remembered him. Kasim Adeyemi moved differently now. The man who once commanded through fear and presence had shifted into something quieter, more deliberate. Every decision carried weight. Every meeting had purpose. And beside him, often unnoticed by those who still underestimated her, stood Amina Sadia. Her rise was not announced. It unfolded. She did not demand a throne. She built one brick by brick. Kasim gave her authority, but she earned respect. Workers trusted her because she spoke their language. Executives feared her questions because they were precise. She understood that systems were not evil. People made them so. Amina insisted on audits that exposed corruption. She restructured contracts to protect laborers. She redirected resources into communities that had always been mined for value and abandoned afterward. Some investors left. Others stayed curious. Stronger ones followed. The empire became leaner, cleaner, more dangerous. For the first time, Kasim felt proud of what he owned. The media struggled to define Amina. She did not dress loudly. She did not smile on command. She spoke rarely, and only when necessary. They called her cold, then brilliant, then mysterious. None of it mattered to her. She remembered Ajagunal. She remembered the road where Kasim lay pretending to be broken while the world stepped over him. That memory grounded her. It reminded her that power was temporary and humanity was not. Rashid tried one final time to reclaim relevance. He sold a story to a foreign outlet, framing Kasim as manipulative, accusing Amina of orchestrating his downfall. The article spread briefly, fueled by gossip and envy. Kasim did not respond immediately. Neither did Amina. Then the evidence spoke. Financial records, emails, witnesses. The truth moved slower than lies, but it crushed harder. Rashid was arrested quietly, without drama. The city barely noticed. He had already faded. In a small holding cell, Rashid finally understood the cruelty of irrelevance. He had lost not because Kasim was stronger, but because he himself had never understood restraint. Revenge did not come as punishment. It came as being forgotten. Months later, Kasim invited Amina to Ajagunal. Not for charity. For acknowledgement. They walked the same streets together. Children stared. Women whispered. Men nodded respectfully. Amina stopped by her old room, now occupied by another struggling family. She smiled softly and left money quietly on the table. Kasim watched her carefully. "This place made you," he said. "It reminded me," she replied. That night, they sat outside under flickering streetlights. The city hummed around them, unaware of the quiet shift happening between two people who had survived opposite ends of power. "I never thanked you properly," Kasim said. Amina looked at him. "You already did. You listened." Silence followed. Not awkward. Honest. Kasim reached for her hand slowly, not to claim, but to ask. She did not pull away. Their love did not explode. It settled. When Kasim publicly announced Amina as co-chair of the empire, the room froze. Some gasped. Some smiled. Some calculated exits. Kasim did not justify the decision. "This company will no longer reward noise," he said calmly. "It will reward integrity." Amina stood beside him, not behind, not ahead. She was not a queen because she married a billionaire. She was a queen because she changed a kingdom. Under her influence, the empire transformed. Villages received infrastructure without displacement. Education programs expanded. Young girls saw someone who looked like them seated where power lived. Amina did not forget sadness. She carried it respectfully. She remembered hunger. She remembered humiliation. Those memories sharpened her compassion instead of poisoning it. One evening, long after the applause faded, Kasim and Amina stood on a balcony overlooking Mythical. The city glowed, restless and alive. "Do you ever regret that day?" Kasim asked, pretending to be broken. Amina smiled faintly.
No.
"Because that day showed me who I was." He nodded. "It showed me who I wasn't." They stood there as equals. Not savior and saved. Not billionaire and poor girl. Just two humans who chose differently when it mattered. The empire continued to grow, but it no longer devoured. It nurtured. It corrected. It remembered the street. And somewhere in Mythical, when another body lay unnoticed by the roadside, people stopped more often now. Because stories change cities. And sometimes, a poor girl who chooses kindness becomes the quiet crown of an empire.